Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Now today we're going to talk about Liverpool and how their season bears off to be given a whole long list of injuries and how it also affect the teams around them. We're going to start with the long-term injuries they have. So they have Joe Gomez, who according to BBC Sport is going to be out for the rest of the season. Now, except for that, there's not really much confirmation elsewhere. As for Van Dijk, we all know about him and how long he's going to be out for, and that people are already starting to state it could be worse than it originally was, and originally it was meant to be out for the season. So big worries there for Liverpool fans. There's also another one which has gone under the radar quite a bit, which is Chamberlain. Now, Chamberlain got an injury in Austria while training with the camp in the summer and has been out ever since. As for their more short-term injuries, now, when I say short-term, I mean ones that are less than a month. They've got Trent Alexander-Arnold and Henderson, who are both out for 3 weeks. They've also got Robertson, who is out with a hamstring strain. Due to my lack of physio knowledge, I don't know how long that's going to be. It's probably going to be around a few weeks, I can imagine. And they've also now got Salah, who's out with COVID as well for 10 days. They also do have people come back from injury though, and there's a lot which weren't playing on international duty because they were recovering from injuries. Tsimikas coming back, who was brought in as a sub left back, so I'm sure he'll be replacing Robertson, who's now out. They've got Fabinho coming back, who I'm sure will probably play as a makeshift centre back for them. They've also got Thiago coming back as well, which is going to be a big addition for them, as well as Naby Keita. Now, what does this mean for their game against Leicester? It means it's a big game for both teams. Now, I think this is the game for Liverpool where it shows if they win it, they're not phased at all by any injuries. Like they have this whole season, in fairness. They've been given injuries all year. They had to start with that drowning goal, which obviously wasn't a good thing for them. They've also had Van Dijk out for quite a few games now, and they showed against City that it didn't phase them. They still managed to get a draw, and it was a very end-to-end game in the first half, like we all know, and a very boring one in the second. But nonetheless, it was a good performance by both teams. As for Leicester, we all know what happened to them last season. They had a great run of form until Christmas, and then especially after lockdown, it just all plummeted, and they cost themselves the top 4 places. They were doing so well at the start of the season, there was almost rumours of them trying to go for the league. But due to injuries and just bad run of form, that soon ended. I think they'll be very desperate to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And I think there'll be a harder challenge for them this year because Chelsea have come back stronger this year and so have Tottenham. So there's going to be a lot more challenges for that 4th place this season than there was last year. If they get a win against Liverpool in this game, for them, it will take their ambition of getting top 4 much more likely than it was before. Now, after this, Liverpool also have 2 other big games. They play Wolves and Spurs both before January window, which means they'll have to be playing these teams with their very makeshift defence, and they'll also have these short-term injuries out as well, so they won't be having Henderson, Robertson most likely, and Alexander-Arnold playing for them as well, which are obviously going to be massive misses for them as well. Now, this is probably going to be Liverpool's hardest season for a very long time, and it will show what Klopp's made of, as this will be a big challenge for him at Liverpool to try and find a solution for his new defence. Now, it'll probably mean playing someone like Milner as their right back and Tsimikas as their left back, and Matip, if he stays fit, as a centre back alongside Fabinho, which is still a decent defence, probably better than ours, but that's not saying much. Now, depth hasn't really been addressed for Liverpool, in my opinion, over recent years under Klopp's reign. They have managed to, in this season at least, sort out their depth in attack and defence with the signing of Jota and Thiago. But as we can see, they got rid of Lovren, they didn't replace him. And on top of that, they've never really had cover as their wing-backs, which I've really noticed over the few years. And it cost them probably in the 18-19 season when they lost Alexander-Arnold for a few weeks. And it's shown because last season, they had Gomez or Milner playing as the wing-back covers if one of the two was out, which they rarely were, which probably why they did so well in the league. And it's notable because their proper covers were Klein and Moreno. They have just expired contracts, and I can't really remember the last time we of them played, which probably says a lot. So the question is, who do they sign in January to sort out these problems and create more depth possibly for the defence so they don't have these problems again in the future? Now, I've looked at numerous websites, and the 2 names just keep popping up with David Alaba and Upamecano. Now, Alaba, the less likely one, he's getting towards 30 now. I think he's won 2 Champions Leagues and numerous Bundesliga titles. He's been a left back his whole career, but he's recently shifted towards the middle of the defence and has done very well there, and was shown as they had an incredible defensive record last season as well. Now, Klopp's only ever signed 2 players outfield over the age of 26 in Klavan and Thiago. Will he break his rule again for Alaba? I don't see why not, because he's an exceptional player, but I think the fact that he's not played consistently as a centre-back may make him a bit more cautious about this one, so I think Upamecano, who's the next man we'll be talking about, is a more likely target. Now, this is a player who's a bit younger. I think he's around 22 to 24 years old. His release clause of £40 million in June. Could they tempt RB Leipzig and pay a bit more so that they could sell him a bit earlier? In the fact, if he does want to leave anyway, then they're going to lose him in June for 40 million. So why not sell him for a bit more in January so you have more money to raise funds for a replacement? I think even though it's a lot of money, it's probably someone that's ideal for Liverpool as a signing, because when you see the fact that they're going to have 2 long-term injuries in defence, they need someone to cover the spot for at least 6 months. on top of the fact that since they're long-term injuries, there could be injuries which will come back to haunt them in the later future in terms of never fully recovering from them. So it could be an idea of us replacing Gomez and Van Dijk depending on who's out and who's not in terms of injuries. So the question is how they do while they're waiting for the January signing. I think they'll struggle quite a bit, of course, because they don't have a proper centre-back aside Matip to play there, and we all know how he's pretty injury-prone anyway. So it'd probably be a combination of either having experienced defender alongside a player with little experience, but Klopp probably would have loaned them out if he didn't believe in their ability, or most likely playing with Fabinho alongside him. Now that'd probably get them through to January in a comfortable position, but you've got to bear in mind as well, both their wing-backs who've been so pivotal to their team for many years now are now going to be out for the next 3 weeks as well. So it's probably a question of maybe a silver lining in that it means they're going to have to play a different style, because I remember reading an article about how Atletico Madrid completely exposed their style of attack through the wing-back positions and it just stopped them from attacking at all. So maybe finding a new route of attack could be what they need to do this season, which they probably will have to do if they're otherwise they're playing Milner and Tsimikas, who have had very little time playing in those positions for them. Now, what does it mean for their title ambitions? Now, I think they'll still go for the league, of course, but will they have enough to win it? I think they do probably have to outscore teams to win these games now, which they've shown last season they didn't do because they won a lot of games 1-0, like us, and we don't do that this season. We've struggled, and so could they be struggling in the future? And now they don't have a decent defender to play in the middle, possibly. I'm sure that the fact that they can score more goals than we can, which we've shown this season, could help them a lot. But I think the fact that Mourinho's the Tottenham manager is going to be a big reason for why I think Tottenham are going to win the league. And that's going to raise a lot of eyebrows, but I just think when you look at him as a manager, he's won everywhere he's been basically. And aside from Man United, which is a more recent one, so it makes you think maybe he's lost his way a bit. But I think that's more down to the board not backing him and backing the players instead. And that he couldn't get a few bad eggs out who destroy the dressing room's personality and what he wanted inside it. So it looks as if Tottenham are doing the opposite and they're actually siding with the manager rather than the players who don't get on with him. As for instance, Dele Alli, if anyone's seen the Amazon documentary, he tried to revive his career and did everything he could, but it didn't seem like it was enough. And it looks like he's on his way out now. You know, he's not playing at all for the team. It looks as if he was going to go to PSG, but nothing ever came from it. So maybe that could be a sign of things to come, and other players who doesn't believe they're right for the team are going to be on their way out too. And if things continue like that, he gets the signings he wants, get the players out he wants. Why could he not win the league? You know, he's got some great additions this season as well with Reguilon and Bale, who are both Real Madrid players and are both winners. So it could be a step in the right direction. And I think as long as they maybe get as well a centre-back signing in January, then they could really mean business this season. Right, if I've not said City, I think like Liverpool, they've also got a few injury crises, but I think they'll push Tottenham all the way, and it could be a question of having these three teams go to the last game of the season and see who wins. On that sense, you'd imagine it would not be Tottenham, as they've got a bottleless mentality, which is well known around social media, of course, but maybe Mourinho being there will change that mentality entirely, and this could be a make or break season for both him and Tottenham. Now, Liverpool fans especially, let me know what you think about how you'll be lining up until January, and if you sign in January, who will it be? And how you'll do at the end of the season. I'm sure I'm probably going to be way off, because you've still managed to get incredible results recently, even without Van Dijk. And I know you've now got Gomez gone as well, but you have got Matip in defence now instead. So you have got someone there. Thank you for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe. And until next time, take it easy.